Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. I hope you're all having a great Friday. First of all, I do have to apologize a little bit. I've been a little inaccurate on some of the videos this week. The Moscow one yesterday in particular. I certainly need to do a little better than that. So we'll try and finish out the week here on a good Ohio game. This one is going to be difficult. We are going to have a nice amount of damage, up over 300k even. But it's going to be very, very difficult to get there. We are pushing in, of course, and the main reason this game is going to be so difficult is we're going to lose a lot of HP early on. So playing a low health battleship, trying to push in and still have impact is going to be a bit of the theme of today's video. We're going to lose quite a bit in this main crossing here. Getting it over here is going to be a good thing for our team overall, though. Trying to shut down this side of the map. This really is the main battle for at least island cover. Open water is kind of the name of the game of the rest of this map. So if you can get control of this north side, typically you're going to do pretty well as a team. So that's where I'm pushing in rather aggressively. But we lose about half of our HP early on, as you can see. That's not exactly the best for winning a game or getting a lot of damage. And you'll notice the enemy team is also getting a lot of the caps early on here as well. But we do make it across, sacrificing a lot of our HP early on. We will try and limit the number of people shooting at us using these islands here, as we always try to do. And overmatch through the rune there, as a very fun game mechanic. Overmatch, isn't it, guys? Feels bad for the rune, though, certainly in this one. Having super ship matchmaker, tier 9 is very, very rough. We're going to try and deal with this Montana, though. He's within our secondary range, and depending on if he wants to come up here north to fight it with us, he will stay within that secondary range, which is pretty good. They will light quite a few fires, and if he decides to give broadside, which he probably won't, we should have some pretty decent AP salvos. I'm also going to swap over to HE a bit more in this game. That's something you do want to be aware of if you're playing like the Ohio, for example. It's not quite Thunderer levels of HE, but the HE does have quite high alpha damage and pretty solid fire chance as well. So you're not a Thunderer. Let me just say that outright. You're not a Thunderer, but it can be pretty good with the high explosive. We're staying very angled because, again, I do want to retain quite a lot of the HP that we do have left. Notice that we can't really heal much of it back, so even though we do have 4 heals remaining in this one, we can't really get much value out of them. It's the unfortunate side of taking Citadels, I think, is what the kind of damage I took when I was making that cross, or at least some of it was Citadel damage. Torpedoes would be the same as well, so taking that heavier damage is rough. You'll notice taking that little bit from the Monty there into our superstructure, most of that is healable, right? So staying angled, of course, is going to be a very, very big deal. But I'm kind of pushed out a little too far here. I'm going to get a little bit greedy for my front guns on this Montana. I do want to take them out, as well as keep my secondaries on them. But we are liable to get shot by the Alsace here. Our main concern, though, to be honest with you, is actually this Condi. Condis are very, very scary when played well, especially. And I took a few shots at this Condi earlier in the game and got 0 damage. This guy knows how to play it, and he knows how to dodge, certainly. HE, here we go, into the Montana here. Not getting a fire quite yet, but that's what we're looking to do is, while he's stuck on the border like this, try and light some fires as we're potentially going to go dark here. Greedy for all of our guns, though, means we are liable to get Citadel'd. Somehow. That one hit almost the front of our ship. There's certainly a cheek to be hit when it comes to angling like this in an Ohio or a Montana. But that shell hit almost the very tip of our bow. I would have thought that would have overpenned, but it didn't. So again, very, very low health now, very little healable back, and we still have a lot of damage to do. That's why this one's a hard 300k to get. But it is important to see some of these games where we are able to make the most out of our ship. Now we have to be really, really careful. Notice where the Montana is aiming, by the way. He does know where to aim. Credit to him. It's not like... It's sure, it could have been a RNG lucky Citadel there, but he's at least aiming in the correct spot for it, so he can get those, certainly. But the really cool part about having such a good game after we go down such low HP, we're on 25,000 HP, effectively have a quarter of the health remaining of our ship, plus a little bit of healing, is you get to see what a ship played really well can do. And maybe what I should be trying to do more often is play optimally in the Ohio here. Not taking as many risks, trying to prevent ourselves from taking as much damage as we can, that kind of thing. Not playing as sloppily, I guess. I typically tend to do that is pushing in, full sending it with some of these secondary battleships, and maybe we take too much damage. Maybe I could do a lot better for myself here. There we go, getting another fire here onto the Montana, and he has damage controlled, so that is going to be a permanent fire. I'm going to try and reverse out now, though. I am still being quite greedy with things. So we're going to try and light one more fire, and then we're going to hide behind this island for a little bit. Really not to gain HP back, because we can't. There's the second fire, so double fire, Shades of Thunderer. That's a permanent double. But I'm just going to sit here and wait. So if someone pushes in, like this Alsace here, we're going to stick it into full throttle and get a shot in on this guy and hopefully dip behind the island before he can retaliate. Decent 15k. There's turtleback on a lot of these French ships, battleships in particular, so not really looking to get citadels there. A little bit of damage there is nice to see though. But again, dipping behind the island right away, not sticking around to use our secondaries, not getting greedy for that. Definitely trying to preserve our HP as much as we can, because we are losing this game. We're going to just sit around for a little bit longer, maybe reverse out to say hi to this Alsace, but it's really just myself and this Annapolis here that are holding down the A cap here. Not that we own the A cap, but we are a problem for the enemy team here, who might be looking to push in and get control of the B cap and use the north side of the islands in this B cap to, well, finish off the rest of our team. It's very difficult, though, to know when to push out, when to go for some of these shots, and when to just wait. Because we can't just wait forever, of course, because then they could just ignore us and finish off our team. But pushing too early, putting ourselves out there to take a lot of damage early means we're just going to die. So hopefully we can finish Alsace off here. Our last salvo wasn't so good, and we do get him. So there we go, getting our first kill into this one, and that is 2 million potential damage now. I'm not actually running the skill to give us another heal there. I was taking, I think, the 5th heal just normally, straight up with the Ohio, since we're probably going to get to it. And now we have a Condi to deal with. Waiting again. There's some cuts in this video, certainly. A lot of time went by where I was just sitting there really not doing a whole lot, waiting for the opportunities. This Condi does get stuck on the border, though. I think he was trying to dig us out as we're playing very cautiously, both with the Annapolis and myself here, making it very difficult for him. So unfortunately, I think he's stuck on the border. Sometimes that can happen when you're in a ship with not the best acceleration, and you get stuck there sometimes. So a little bit of a weird thing there where I guess we'll just overmatch into him and take him out. Very fortunate for us, as a kiting Condi at longer ranges can be a nightmare to deal with. So we got pretty lucky there to take him out. And finally, it is time to push out. We're losing by enough that I think this is the time to make a play. Worcester is close enough that we might be able to do some good damage, and Montana is getting quite low. So this is the time where we're full sending, we're fully accepting that we're going to die, especially right now, but we need to get as much value as we can out of this one. So if we push up, take a lot of the focus fire, because they do understandably want to finish off the low health target. Maybe we can be enough of a distraction that our Annapolis buddy here can actually carry the game out. Still a very close match. We love to see these. After Christmas holiday games, certainly had a lot of blowouts, a lot of one-sided games in those. And fair enough, holiday season, lots of people playing. That's actually a good thing, but I do love these closer games much more. I'm actually going to ignore the Bourgogne here. I don't think the Annapolis is going to really have much trouble dealing with Bourgogne. Of course, the lower caliber AP there isn't going to overmatch him. Annapolis is a pretty strong ship in that kind of case. It's the Adatara with the overmatch that could be the problem. And of course, the Worcester. So I want to be looking for shots on the Worcester as well as the Adatara here. Especially if he gets greedy to reverse out broadside to us. That might be the winning ticket here for us. 3 million potential damage. Got a double fire on us though, which is going to be our death soon. 245,000 damage, and we barely get to see the stern of the Adatara there and get a double citadel. So there you go, getting up near 300,000 damage in this one. There's our Confederate with Halsey. Unfortunately, we aren't going to live long enough to get much value out of that, but our Annapolis plus the Venice actually managed to finish off the Bourgogne, which is really, really cool. And we're really focused on this Adatara. That overmatch is really the main danger for the rest of our teammates here. If we can take care of that, I think we should have a pretty good win. 600 HP remaining on us, and if the Worcester doesn't get a hit on us, maybe we'll get another salvo in. Single firing just to get as many turrets across this island as we could, and I finish him off. So fortunately, we get some very, very generous dispersion there as we're ending this game, and we get ourselves up to 300k. We were on 25,000 HP, remember, with around 120, 130,000 damage into this game. So a lot of damage came with very low HP on our ship. Perhaps a good reminder to try and finish off low health ships as much as you can, as well as you don't have to take a lot of damage if you're playing smart. I certainly can get a little lazy and not angle my ship quite right all the time. Now, to be totally honest with you, this is a very, very experimental build that I'm working with here. A full tank build with some secondaries is probably going to be your best bet with something like the Ohio. But I have been messing around with an idea that maybe we can shoot down a bunch of planes. I'm not sure, but I have been trying it, and I have been getting a little bit of success with it. As you can see here, we're actually going to get a decent number of plane kills. Not going full AA, not all out. I'm still taking accuracy on the main guns, but when you're pushing in Ohio, you're probably going to be the target of the carrier. That's just how it goes, right? Not every game's going to have a carrier, so perhaps these points are a little bit wasted. But at least the 2-pointer now these days at least is going to help us. If there's a spotter plane up or some ASWs that get our AA firing, that's going to give us that 40% reduction on some of our consumables, which is nice to have. Also taking Adrenaline Rush, manual secondaries. This is not the build that I was actually running in that game. I've been running, I think I was running long range secondaries and manual secondaries, of course. And then I was running Emergency Repair Expert as well as the AA upgrades, just because our concealment wasn't as good. I've decided to swap it around. Don't take these builds too seriously on this right now. I'm just trying some things here. I have been shooting planes down though, which is kind of cool. Preventive maintenance is always going to be a nice one as well. If you're looking for a good Ohio build where you still want to take the full secondaries, I think something like this. Pretty basic, very standard stuff, but that is giving you the secondaries, that's giving you those 5 heals, and that's getting you fire prevention, which, as we saw, we're taking some double fires here and there. So dealing with those is a very important thing of pushing in as well. Equipment-wise, looking like this, of course, going with main guns on accuracy here. 11% is just huge. So if you're playing an American Battleship at high tier, it's too good to ignore, even for reload or trying something silly like auxiliary armaments, which would buff our AA. But importantly, the number of explosions doesn't increase. That +2 on the flak bursts is only when you have defensive fire active, which you can't activate on an Ohio. So that isn't going to help you nearly as much. And secondaries are of little value. They're fun. They're interesting. They do some damage. If you're getting rushed by a DD, that can help you at closer ranges, since the aiming is actually really good on DDs these days. But the actual raw output isn't that great, so not enough to sacrifice 11% main gun dispersion for sure. Of course, the armor on something like an Ohio is very, very strong, so when you angle it properly, it's going to do quite well. But notice the curve of the bow here, right? It's quite angled, but if you position it like this, where you're trying to shoot all of your guns, this actually becomes a bit of a flat point. The angle isn't quite as good. Actually, it's behind all these ships, but the angle here isn't as good as your side plating. So even though maybe you're at 30-degree angle to the enemy ship you're firing at, you're getting both your rear guns off, this is probably more like a 35-degree angle, something like that, where you can definitely get Citadel through here. So the shells would pen this because they won't auto bounce off of that, considering the angle. And then they would have to have enough pen to go through 457 mil here, but a lot of battleships at high tier have a lot of pen, especially at closer ranges. So that's where you're going to see some of those bow Citadels. Now, the one in the game, that kind of hit me up here. So I'm not sure what happened. Maybe some desync. Maybe it hit here and then bounced off the inside. Maybe it bounced off of this side, penned here, bounced off of there into the Citadel. I don't know. I don't know if they model that much of the shell bouncing into things or not. But regardless, you definitely can get Citadeled here, is what I'm trying to get at. So that Monty aiming properly, you know, Dispersion said the shell went here for him, which is unlucky, and yet it still got him. It still got him to sit. So if you're aiming at closer ranges, definitely aim there when the enemy battleship gets greedy. Just in front of this line, you can kind of tell that there, where the main armor belt starts. That's kind of the signifier where you want your shells to hit right around here is the idea. And that's really only going to work if they're firing all of their guns at you. That's the idea. It's much more difficult to do on something like an Ohio or a Montana than it is on like a Yamato, for example. Very well known to have that cheek Citadel weakness, but it is doable. So there you go. Ohio with 300k damage, feeling pretty good about that. And a very difficult one where we were forced to play on some very low HP, a little more hit and run tactics, and got pretty fortunate at the end to carry us up to that 300k damage. And we managed to win with certainly the help of our teammates there while we were kind of stuck behind the island. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.